Hey y'all, here I am with another vlog. Kinda just chilling out right now watching King of the Hill in my room. Just playing with Barbies and stuff. Here I've just redressed my Steffi Love doll in this little Glam Squad strawberry shortcake fashion pack. I think this doll kinda looks like Orange Blossom a bit. So I just had to put her in this like shirt, obviously. It's not really showing up that well on camera, but I think she looks really adorable. And we've got this Barbie fashionista right here. I really disliked her outfit like so much, the one that she came in with like that checkered skirt that like didn't really look that great that until it was cropped, and then that like flame neon shirt that looked disgusting. So I just gave her this fashion pack of rainbow high pants and then this like old Roxy Barbie like shirt or whatever. She's just wearing Steffi's shoes. I think this doll is really pretty, and with a restyle, like, she can look even prettier. I really want to get her, like, an articulated body as well, because I feel like that face and, like, this, like, hair or whatever, it's, like, too good to, like, be on this, like, static body that can't move. You know, I'm really not surprised that Mattel is letting go of a lot of people amidst all this, like, DEI stuff, because they're a company who literally did not see fit to, like, highlight or represent really anybody else besides the predominantly blonde, white, blue-eyed, you know, Barbie for a long time, and until 2016, when they thought to cater to a different demographic of people, you know what I mean? That's when they wanted to go ahead and make money off of all the minorities and everybody and stuff like that. Y'all literally only did that just to profit off of only that and not even like improve on your dolls that much, to be quite honest. I'm not really going to be saying much about it because I still really have to do more research on like the topic and like everything, and I still really want to like learn more about what's going on with that, but like damn. It's nice to have been like living through the doll renaissance, but like, oh my goodness, you know, all these politics and like all of these companies and like in the doll world and everything is just going like hand in hand, you know, like it usually does. But like, whoa, everything is just like a little bit different now. It's crazy. Personally, this year in my collecting journey, I just want to start like owning and getting a lot of the dolls that like I've been wanting to get since childhood and stuff like that. You know, starting with like my Carly and Sam dolls, like that I finally like matched together as a set. That was really cool for me, and next for me is to get my Cheetah Girls dolls and stuff like that because, you know, I just, back when I was a kid, there were so many great dolls to collect, you know. I know that a lot of you guys can agree, growing up in the early 2000s or like maybe in the 90s even and stuff like that, or 80s, it's like there were a lot of really fun fashion dolls and toys were really great, you know. And, you know, growing up I always saw dolls that I wanted but could never have because of whatever bullshit reasons before. Now that I can own them and have my own money to be able to purchase them and stuff, I kind of just want to focus more on that this year instead of like eating up all these new like releases from all these companies, because they're not all bad releases, you know, some of them are great, but like, you know, I should really get some of the dolls that are like going up in price that I want first before I go ahead and like, you know, go crazy at these stores, because to be quite honest, most of these stores aren't even worth shopping at anyways when you consider like everything else going on right now. So yeah. No, I remember when I started collecting and like got into the hobby in like 2016 when there was barely anything to collect, you know. You had your like Barbie fashionistas who had recently like gone curvy, petite, tall, or whatever the hell. And then you had like the G2 Monster High reboot that like severely underperformed and stuff like that. And then you had like maybe the WWE Superstars by Mattel and like Project MC Squared. So like and like Shopkins and stuff and LOLOMG, that wasn't really much to like get into at the time. So when I got back into collecting, or into it rather, it was more so about like getting into all of the things that I couldn't get when I was younger, and like all of the nostalgic lines and like any of the nostalgic like Barbies and stuff like that. Because, you know, once I found that collecting community like on YouTube and stuff like that, you know, I really only saw like the people who had like grown up in like the late 90s and stuff like that talking about all of their dolls, and like, you know, the older people too. So that really influenced me to kind of like liking more of like the vintage dolls like first and like kind of wanting to end up with them more. So I think that once LOL OMG and then Rainbow High was released, in-store doll collecting kind of became a lot more fun again, because even in like 2017 and like 2018, like the in-store dolls weren't really that great either. Like you had like the Hasbro Disney princesses and like Snap Stars and like whatever the hell else, but nothing was really that interesting. The most interesting about collecting from about like 2016 to about like maybe 2018-ish, when like the doll renaissance started, was like vintage collecting on like eBay and like thrifting. That was really where like it was the most funnest for me, at least, because on eBay you could literally find anything cheap if you looked hard enough, and it could be from the 80s, from the 70s, from the 90s, from 2002. So I found that very fun, and once I got my first job and first debit card and stuff like that and could make my own purchases online, that was it for me. It was perfect. I could go on eBay and I could find a Bratz doll from 2003 that I've been wanting forever. I could get a lot of this. I could get this Twilight Barbie. I could get whatever the hell, for like relatively cheap, because, it was all you had to do was like really go into filters and stuff like that. So like, yeah, I feel like that was the funnest part about like doll collecting around the time when like the dolls were like really dry and there wasn't really any good releases anywhere. I also feel like after like 2017, doll collecting started to become a more like widely accepted like mainstream hobby. Because I feel like even going through my like suggested on YouTube back in the day, I would literally see videos from like the BBC or from different like news like stations talking about, here's the man with the largest Barbie doll collection, or here's the woman who spends over $1,000 on Barbies every month, or blah blah blah, and stuff like that, and pieces like that started to become a lot more common, I feel like, after 2017. And it kind of made me feel better about myself too, being like a young teenager. I was like, oh, okay, well, like, there it is for you. Everybody's collecting dolls, everybody's buying the dolls, everybody's spending money on them, so, I don't need to feel any types of shame about it. I never really did at all, thank God. I think that these days some of the best places to like shop for dolls and like toys in general is like definitely discount stores, like Burlington or TJ Maxx or like Marshalls. I know that there are more, but I can really only think of the ones like around my area and stuff like that. But like, yeah, like any discount stores, and like especially like thrift stores too, you know what I mean? If you find a doll at a thrift store that you really like, you should definitely get her if you can, because you're not going to be able to find very interesting like dolls and like build just like a really interesting collection if you're just buying dolls like in store or whatever the hell, at least in my opinion. And I do know that like there are a lot of different like stores now at like malls or whatever that like cater to like all the Japanese imports and like the Chinese imports too, so you could even find like some dolls there. I know that I recently went to like kawaii like store or whatever, that's like what they called it at the mall or whatever, kawaii something, and where they sold like all these like anime figures and like Japanese toys and stuff like that, and I saw some like fashion dolls there. They weren't very good fashion dolls, because honestly, like what my dream would be to find like a Lika doll or like a Jenny doll like in an American like toy store and buy her, because I really want a Lika doll or like one of those dolls, but I really don't want to like import them, and like I know you can like still get them on eBay and like just get them shipped here, but like I haven't gone through with that yet. So like, yeah, I really think that if you're gonna buy like dolls and like try to curate like an interesting collection, go the discount route, because if you're a person who like really wants what's in stores or whatever, like this advice probably won't be for you, but like if you really don't give a crap about what like is new and like releasing and stuff like that, you will find a lot of great fashion dolls and like a lot of discounted dolls like at those stores and stuff like that. You can find some really great ones. Just recently when I went to go to Ross to just shop for whatever and browse, I found the Rainbow High dolls, the Michelle one, and the that like denim girl with like the bangs or whatever, from one of the more like recent lines that they did before they rebooted. I didn't get them just because the versions that ended up at the one that I was at looked kind of like janky, but you know, I still found something nonetheless. So like, yeah, I think definitely go the discount route or like secondhand route for sure. You're gonna be able to find a lot better things and like a lot more interesting things, I think. I definitely do need to go through my collection and downsize and stuff like that because, like I said, I have been collecting since 2016, and like, I I think at first when I started getting into the hobby, I really was just like getting every doll just because I wanted it because I had never had dolls of my own before. You know what I mean? And I didn't really have any like clear direction as to like what I wanted to collect, how I wanted to collect them, and whatnot. And I think now that I'm like a lot older, I can definitely like tell what direction I want my collection to go in and stuff like that. And mainly it's just like the nostalgic route for like, you know, the most part. I think that I want to end up with a lot of the dolls that I would have liked to have, you know, owned as a kid and stuff like that first. Slash like just an early 2000s inspired collection in general. Because I'm always gonna like whatever's like new and like releasing and stuff like that. You know, I'm never gonna be hating on something just because it's like new and in store. But like, I definitely think that the early 2000s dolls like just are much more charming than like a lot of the newer releases that we're getting. So I think that my collection is gonna be more so like nostalgia based. After I kind of like go through what I need to go through and like, you know, donate what I need to because, you know, I don't need every blonde-haired Barbie doll anymore just because I didn't have Barbies growing up. Now I have a clear, you know, direction of like what I want to do, so, or like own in my collection and stuff like that, because, you know, I don't need anything taking up space that like I don't resonate with anymore, you know, so, yeah. Still absolutely cannot get over this cunty ass Odile. She's literally gonna make an appearance in every video of mine, I feel like. I really like the outfit that I chose for her too.
Damn, look, I look like one of you right now. I look like her.
Hope you guys enjoyed the vlog, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.